Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm talking about a topic that I find interesting because as a fellow Muslim, follower of faith, of one God, of the ultimate source, creator, the divine, the unseen, that which you cannot measure, you can't even comprehend, but yet we attempt to call this thing something. And Allah seems to be a good expression. Today I was thinking about, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this magnificence that grows these trees right here from a seed with just a little bit of water and a slight good environment. Doesn't even have to be the best environment. And some water, like it's raining right now. And that seed and that plant will take growth. That thing is all-encompassing. It's ever-present, omnipotent. Some of the terms we can use here, but only a few of the terms. Which is why in Islam they call them characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the thing that I was thinking about this morning, after discussing what is this creation, is marriage. And not to get into context, not to get into too much semantics, but some semantics are important to an extent. But I want to talk about, when does the actual marriage take place? And what are the formalities and what are the necessities? And since God is ever present and always there, I think Muslims get it wrong a little bit. And I'm only pointing out this distinction because distinction is a huge thing. And if you go into it the wrong way, you're going to fall the victim to society, and then you're going to have a marriage just like the rest of society. Perhaps. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As I enter the home. So, what we're talking about is, when does the actual marriage occur? And I bring this up because I was having this conversation, and the reality is it happens when you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the commitment. Well, that's when marriage happens. Because I was thinking, some of the common questions people ask me, like, when did you get married, and how did you know when you were in love, and all these other things that you can't actually know something that you don't know. So you can't actually answer that until it happens. So the sayings of, oh, you'll just know when it happens. No, you won't, because it's something you've never done before. And also, there's a couple steps to what we call marriage. There's a legal marriage, which is when you write on a piece of paper that you're deciding to get married. That's one of the steps, and it's dependent state by state in the United States of America. So is that the actual marriage? Even if you're Muslim or you're practicing Islam, what's the actual marriage? Is it the ceremony, the nikah, when you're sitting in front of everyone else with witnesses and exclaiming and proclaiming your marriage? I don't know. I'm going to make the argument that none of those matter, because for me, it happened when I made the commitment, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows when that is. It is not the nikah. And some people say the nikah is important because then you're doing it in front of Allah. That's not true. Allah is always and always has been, always will be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was always there. So you're not now doing it in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has always been there. So just like when you have the hearts change to become Muslim, or the heart change to do something, only you and our creator, our source, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knows exactly when that happens. And that is a thing that does happen. And when it happens is when you're married. Now, for the sake of formalities and everyone else in society, to appease external circumstances, we do these other things like a legal marriage, which is contractual and binding. You don't need that piece of paper to put in place the emotions, the affect, the feelings, and the actual commitment that it will take for a marriage. Those happen from within, not without, and not external to. So yes, argue as much as you want about the semantics. But the purpose of discussing marriages is answered by what I said, not by what writings say. The purpose of marriage is the ultimate actionable steps. It's the change in you that you need to become, which is a process of marriage. And it's a dynamic, ever-growing process. So again, we do these legal formalities because then we have a way to say, yes, we committed to a marriage. Right? And that's the best thing we have yet, because we cannot access the truth, the haqq. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. So as much as even I could sit here and say that I've committed to a marriage, the only person that knows that is no one. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a person. But the only truth in that phrase that I'm saying is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, is what our creator, source, divine intellect, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, only what they know, or it knows. Even saying he kind of defines it. I don't even like using that word. But anyways, I digress. I'm going to post this video because it's going to help someone out there. Because when we talk about marriage, there's no purpose of bringing up when you sign things. Signing things has nothing to do with how you are going to actually act. Right? When you actually commit and the heart change takes place is when the change starts to occur, that you're acting in a way that a married couple would act or should act, right? And the reason I bring all of this up, for example, is because when I committed to it is when all the change occurred in my internal being. The way you walk, the way you carry yourself, the way you feel about yourself, all of these things that are part of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, that when you are when you are married, half of your deen is fulfilled. Well, the change in a person, which is part of what fulfilling half of your deen is talking about, and only Allah knows best, forgive me for any errors, but the changes that take in place internally occur not when you sign a piece of paper. They occur when you've committed. Does that make sense? Just because I wrote my name on a piece of paper in front of a bunch of people isn't going to change my actions. And in fact, as you see in many marriages, it gets worse after the marriage. Abuse starts to occur. All of these insane things. So it's very easy to argue that that was the opposite. That was the antithesis of marriage. Signing a piece of paper did worse. Right? So hopefully this helps somebody out there, because it was just something I was thinking about today. And stay tuned, like, subscribe, ask me any questions. Let me know what your thoughts are. Excited to help a lot of people out there. I've already helped many people. Inshallah, God will use me as an agent to help many other people fulfill their spiritual world, which is the most important pillar of life. Ironically enough, in Islam, there are 5 pillars. So, spiritual world is the most important. And may you and may God grace you to find those pillars in your life, embrace those pillars. Just start praying to God and asking for guidance. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Ameen sum ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Peace and blessings to everyone out there, of all faiths, of all creeds, of all denominations. Stay blessed. We got this. The war is not between us. The war is between the unseen and us. Allah Hafiz.